Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 7:07 on this Thursday morning. You're listening to WMAL News Talk 105.9. It is O'Connor and Company, and I'm your Friday gal, Patrice Onwuka, in for Larry O'Connor, who is probably dancing to this music on the beach right now. Mercedes Schlapp, who's usually here every Thursday. It is so good to be with you. We've got a lot of girl power today.
I know. So fun so far, Patrice, but we have a lot more to go.
We do. 7:35, Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, a Marine who is imprisoned for criticizing the military over their Afghanistan withdrawal. 8:05, we'll have KT McFarland here as usual. And at 8:35, Virginia's Attorney General Jason Mayoris will join us. All right. Right now we're going to welcome in Kerry Picket, who is with the Washington Times, the congressional correspondent. And Kerry, we're going to be talking to you today about some of the big news that happened yesterday, but let's play cut 10, Michael.
After weeks of careful thought, I've decided the right thing for the Bureau is for me to serve until the end of the current administration in January and then step down.
That was Christopher Wray yesterday. Kerry Picket, senior congressional reporter for the Washington Times. Kerry, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Patrice and Mercedes. So what's interesting there is that he said after weeks of careful consideration, well, more specifically after Donald Trump won the election, because there was a good number of FBI employees, and probably including Christopher Wray, who probably didn't think that Donald Trump was going to win the election. I did a piece a while back that said that a good number of them were stunned, shocked. They had no idea. And many of us pretty much knew that Donald Trump was on the glide path to actually win. That being said, now that Christopher Wray said that he was going to step down because people weren't too sure if he was going to stick around to get fired, like the way James Comey was when he was on the FBI jet by Donald Trump. What's interesting here is that we're going to have Deputy Director Paul Abate, who will be elevated to acting director, and he's kind of flown beneath the sort of radar of everybody. No one knows who Paul Abate is, and people are sort of wondering how things are going to go, because I'm hearing right now, guys, is that they're going to maybe cause some problems with Kash Patel. Presumably, he's confirmed. It looks like he's going to be confirmed, because it seems that you have Christopher Wray, who has been promoting a lot of leadership people over at the FBI to sort of get them to burrow in. So now it appears that they're trying to say, we have to formulate a plan to have Kash Patel to kind of stay away from the FBI for the next 3 to 4 months, so we have our people to burrow in. So it looks like they're going to try and maybe give Kash Patel some problems. So just kind of watch for that for the next 3 to 4 months or so after he perhaps gets confirmed.
We've seen Kash Patel
situation.
Kerry, it seems that Kash Patel is really in a much better position to get confirmed as FBI director. We've seen him making the rounds in the Senate with different members. It almost seems like his route is easier than what we're seeing with Pete Hegseth. What's your read on what you're hearing on the Hill?
Oh yeah, definitely. Kash Patel, you have to remember, even though you had some people who were saying, oh well, he said things like he wanted to just get rid of the FBI building over in Washington and turn it into a museum. A lot of people, just particularly the Republicans, just kind of just brush that off as just rhetoric. And the big joke really was just that people would say, actually, a lot of FBI guys just want to leave the FBI building and actually get a new one either in Maryland or Virginia anyway, so who cares? But but at the same time though, you had Kash Patel, who also is a lawyer, also came from DOD, also has an intelligence background, who worked for the Intel Committee under Devin Nunes. He's a government guy. He has a fancy government resume. As far as Pete Hegseth is concerned, there's this sort of snobbery over in Washington that we all know about. So, he's a TV guy. Come on, guys. Sort of just ignoring the fact that, like, he has an incredible military background. He has an incredible academic background. He wrote a great book, and they were trying to sort of blow him off, and then they ended up looking stupid yesterday after this West Point story came out, when they were trying to make it look as if he wasn't accepted at West Point. And then my colleague Susan Ferriccio came out with the story saying, no, he was accepted over at West Point, and he has the acceptance letter to actually show it. And he ended up making them look real stupid about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Kerry, we're speaking with Kerry Picket, who's the senior congressional reporter for the Washington Times. That was an embarrassment on ProPublica. Their egg is on their face. So I'm sure that that's kind of making the rounds on the Hill. But aside from the nominations, there's still work to be done on Capitol Hill between now and the end of the year. We're seeing Chuck Schumer try to ram through nominations for judges and even some cabinet positions or agency positions like the NLRB, which thankfully that was sunk yesterday thanks to Republicans and Manchin and Sinema. But what else is going on the Hill? What is some of the unfinished business that needs to get done before this Congress gavels out?
Well, we still have the spending bill that's still being dealt with. There's also, the NDAA that is also being dealt with. But Republicans, they were able to get a measure through right now that had to do with the transgenderism issue that has to do with minors, and they were able to sort of get that in there, and we'll see how that's dealt with in the upper chamber, because Democrats were very upset about that, but and they said, wait, hold on a second, you guys are going to get that anyway because Donald Trump is coming in and he's going to deal with that. Why do you have to put that into the NDAA? They're like, look, we're going to get it in now, and why should we have to wait for Donald Trump to come in? So let's see how the Senate deals with it.
Well, real quick, what's your expectation moving into next year? I know that the House is maybe possibly looking at 2 budget reconciliation bills.
Oh, yes. We're going to see, whoever thought that the ACA, the Obamacare, would ever come back to haunt the Democrats now, because you figure that you're going to be dealing with, say, the wall, as far as as far as what Donald Trump wants, as far as immigration is a concern, and now the Republicans are like, hey, look, if you can get Obamacare passed through reconciliation, then basically we're going to get what we want passed as far as immigration is concerned. So definitely watch for that as well, as far as what Republicans want. It's no longer an issue of, well, we need 60. We have reconciliation.
Well, Kerry Picket, thank you so much. We've got to leave it right there. But folks can follow you at Kerry Picket on X.com, formerly known as Twitter, and read your great stuff in the Washington Times. Thanks for joining us today, Kerry.
Sure thing. Take care.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live
from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Mercedes, speaking of girl power, Bill Clinton was living his fantasy yesterday. He was surrounded by 5 women who were all gloating and giving him all of the attention and fawning he could possibly want. These were the women of The View. Do you think that this is the kind of fantasy he wanted?
I don't think that Joe Behar is his type, because it just is not. But I will tell you, these I think these really kind of cringy women from The View who have literally had to read more legal notes on air than ever before, and Bill Clinton making his rounds. And Bill Clinton has made so many comments that have been critical of the Democrat Party. It's just kind of fascinating to watch. But you got to tell me, Patrice, like, what was like the big highlights from this View interview with Bill Clinton?
Well, let's listen to one of them. Let's play cut 13. This is Sonny Hostin asking him about something he actually just did this morning.
Donald Trump will be returning to the White House, unburdened by the pressure of re-election, with sweeping immunity granted to him, I believe, by the Supreme Court, and an alleged enemies list we're hearing. Do you think it would be wise of President Biden to preemptively pardon any potential targets? What about your wife, Hillary Clinton? She apparently is on Kash Patel's list.
For what?
Yeah.
Well, they got a problem with her because, first, she didn't do anything wrong.
Of course.
Second, she followed the rules exactly as they were written. Third, Trump's State Department found, they remember how the emails were such a big issue in 2016? Trump's State Department found that Hillary sent and received exactly 0 classified emails on her personal device. It was a made-up, phony story.
Yeah.
So, you know, I guess if Kash Patel is determined to make one up, he could do it. But I think if President Biden wanted to talk to me about that, I would talk to him about it. But I don't think I should be giving public advice on the pardon power. I think it's a very personal thing.
Well, Mercedes, so Bill Clinton, I think that was the big takeaway. He says his wife did nothing wrong. So I guess she really doesn't need a pardon. And we don't know the full list, but remember this morning we broke the news that President Biden did pardon 39 people and commuted over close to 1,500 people's sentences. So this is ridiculous that Hillary Clinton did nothing wrong, at least in Bill Clinton's eyes.
You know, that relationship is so intriguing to me. But look, I got to tell you, first of all, let's go back to the premise of the question, which is that they're basically, Sonny and the gang are basically saying that, you know, Trump has an enemies list and he's going to go after the enemies. And they're trying to create this narrative of, you know, the Trump team going after the Democrats. Okay.
Retribution.
So, retribution. Exactly. Just that in and of itself is like to put fear in the American people. Now, don't get me wrong. I do hope that they investigate Liz Cheney and Adam Kissinger and that gang for what they did in deleting the evidence of the J6 committee, where they literally mishandled that whole committee, and all for all for propaganda and all to destroy Donald Trump. So I find it so interesting that you have Bill Clinton trying to defend his wife when we know actually there was classified emails, if I can remember, that were mishandled under Hillary Clinton's time. And so we'll see. I just find it fascinating to watch these women constantly just making up these narratives that are just that obviously are not accurate, in my opinion, or are not going to, or just simply not going to happen.
And if only there was a conservative voice on the panel to push back against it.
Well, apparently Alyssa Farah is, which
direct shade to Alyssa Farah.
Look, she betrayed President Trump. She was obviously looking for a big TV gig, and the way she thought it was going to work is if she would say horrible things about him. And now all of a sudden, I think she said something to the effect that she was going to wear a MAGA hat if something were to happen. I'm trying to remember exactly what it is.
I did see something like that. We'll pull that up. But there's another interesting exchange that Bill Clinton made with surrounded by all of these women who you think are not his type. I mean, you never know. I thought a woman in a skirt was his type. But cut 12, Michael. This is Joy Behar asking how Bill Clinton sleeps at night.
Now, in the book you write that after your wife Hillary's lost, when she lost to Donald Trump in 2016, you had outbursts of rage and you didn't sleep for years, 2 years. I still can't sleep.
So you should call Joy. She was awake too.
Call me up. So how are you sleeping now? What's going to happen now?
I'm sleeping better now because I did everything I could for the alternative.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I also think it's important for everybody to just take a deep breath, and say, unlike in 2016, there was no outside influence like the FBI director interfering at the last moment in violation of 70 years of policy.
Yeah, Bill Clinton, first off, you're delusional. You sound a little bit senile. Age is catching up to you. I'm glad that you were sleeping better at night. The fact, though, that you couldn't even remember Kamala Harris's name as the nominee for the Democratic ticket is embarrassing, and I think is just indicative of how badly the Democrats lost because they got behind a bad horse in the race. All right.
Well, I'm still stuck on the fact that who is Bill Clinton sleeping with? Obviously, it's not with Hillary Clinton in the same bed. Let's be real. I just got stuck there. I don't care if he's sleeping well or not sleeping well, but I can assure you, Hillary Clinton is not sharing the bed with Bill Clinton.
You heard it here. It's O'Connor and Company at 7:24.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Ooh, it is 7:37. News Talk 105.9 WMAL. It feels good to be a woman. I'm Patrice Onwuka, your usual Friday gal on O'Connor and Company, in for a vacationing Larry O'Connor, and I'm here with our usual Thursday gal, Mercedes Schlapp. Good morning, Mercedes.
We've had like a fabulous time, but don't tell Larry.
Okay,
don't tell Larry.
Well, you know what? We do this all regularly on Chris Plant's Newsmax show, too. So It's nice to be with you in the morning. All right, at 8:05, more girl power. KT McFarland is going to be coming up. And at 8:35, Virginia Attorney General Jason Mayares. So, you know what? I think one of the attacks on President Trump that really, really riled up a lot of women, not just conservative women, was when Mark Cuban said that President Trump did not surround himself with smart, articulate women, strong women. And here we go. President Trump has been named the woman, oh my gosh, I almost said the woman of the year, the person of the year by Time Magazine.
Right,
I was trying to work that women angle. I was trying to work that woman angle into a nice segue, but he is the person of the year. And it is for many reasons, including the fact that he does surround himself by very smart, bright women like yourself who worked in Trump administration 1.0 and KT McFarland and so many others. But yeah, today he's going to be the Time Person of the Year, and he will be in New York. He already is in New York to ring the New York Stock Exchange bell. What do you make of the new optimism over President Trump after his win?
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, for all of us that have watched, I think the lowest of points for President Donald Trump between all of the weaponization of the DOJ, the lawfare against President Trump, not only at the federal level, but at the state level. And he, day after day would show up at court, would just take the punches all the time, and yet never, ever gave up. And then he still had a very clear vision of where America needed to be. I remember having a conversation with the president where he mentioned, I hope it's not too late to save America, and because so much damage has been done in the past 4 years. So to watch President Trump really just dominate, dominate the news cycle, dominate where basically the election year, I mean, the energy, the people, when you're looking at the fact that most Americans agree with how the president's handling the transition, agree with the president and his mandate, wants his policies to be implemented. And now President Trump being recognized by Time magazine, I think, is very telling. I mean, you have to understand, like, his competition. Okay, Kamala Harris. I'm not going to include Kamala Harris.
Where is she, by the way, at this point?
Last time I saw her, I was at the Kennedy Center Honors, the Kennedy Center Honors. Yeah, which was kind of interesting because Queen Latifah comes out and she starts. So Kamala Harris walks out and she's wearing kind of like the silvery.
Yes,
top.
I saw it, like a crop top, maybe.
Yeah, and it looked like she was like an alien. I'm not kidding you. And then Joe Biden also is there, but Queen Latifah starts her whole rant by saying, "Oh, we're so heartbroken. We live in such a divided society." It was literally like, it was like Queen Latifah in mourning because Kamala was there. And you know who else was there? Was Secretary Antony Blinken, who was like jamming to some of the performances, which of course you're just like gagging. You're just going, oh my gosh, that's so bad. But anyway, so Kamala Harris being one of the picks, possible picks. Elon Musk, okay, who obviously I think is kind of the Benjamin Franklin of our time right now, where he's been so incredibly influential, not only in the space industry, but now being involved in Doge. And so, quite frankly, it's just, I think, just an honor for Donald Trump to be able to be recognized for not only surviving the left and their attempt to basically destroy him, and then on top of that,
every way,
2 assassination attempts, and yet he's still standing strong.
Well, speaking of standing strong and just transition news, we've got some updates here for folks. If you didn't know, when you went to sleep last night, President Trump released a slew of nominations, and another strong woman he's surrounding himself with is Kerry Lake. We know Kerry Lake from Arizona. She was a Republican person on the Senate candidate. Unfortunately, she did not win the seat, but she has made a name for herself and certainly has been a strong Trump ally. So she has been named now to head Voice of America, VOA. Pretty leftist news outlet that's supposed to represent the voice of America, the perspectives of America to the world. I think it's going to be great to have someone as disruptive as Kerry Lake probably will be to clean house. I hope there are a lot of journalists over there who say, you know what, I'm going to resign. Good. And then it's an opportunity to bring hopefully in some fresh faces and some fresh voices who will present not just a one-sided view of America to the rest of the world.
Yeah, you're talking about over 300 million people listen to Voice of America. Wow. It's like in over 40 different languages. So it's going to be really an opportunity to disrupt, but also to transform Voice America and really innovate it. I mean, it is stuck in the past. They're not effective in reaching out to really connecting to so many people and explaining truly what is happening in America instead of through the lens of CNN International.
That's right. That's right. Some other interesting picks. Kimberly Guilfoyle, she's going to be the ambassador to Greece. We know that Kimberly Guilfoyle has previously been a part of the Trump inner circle. And so now she's going to be representing the Make America agenda in Greece. And, there's some stuff around that. We understand now that Kimberly and Don Jr. are no longer an item. He has appeared on the streets of Miami with a hot little number, Miss a new socialite, Love Bettina Anderson. So, we wish them the best. We wish everybody involved the best.
Yeah, look, I think for Kimberly Guilfoyle, I think both of them were really trying to just keep their relationship or the end of their relationship quiet, get through the election, which I think is a very smart move. And, Kimberly has been one of those fighters. She's been out there touting the president's record, really trying to get him elected. So this is, an opportunity for her to start her life anew and move on, which, it's not easy, but I wish her the best of luck and Don Jr. the best of luck as well.
That's right. All right. Well, we've got more on the nominations, Trump news, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Stay with us. It's O'Connor and Company at 7:44.
Miss anything? Don't worry, we've got you covered. Get today's breaking news on the Vince Colonnese Show, weekdays 3 to 6, right here on WMAL.
All right, we are happy to welcome to the show Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller. He is a Marine who was imprisoned for criticizing the military brass over the Afghanistan withdrawal. Good morning, Lieutenant Colonel.
Good morning.
It's great to have you on the show. There's so much going on in the world when it comes to the military, but I'd love to get your read on President Trump's nominee to head up the Department of Defense, Pete Hegseth. We know that Pete has been hitting the Hill, meeting with a number of senators over the past week to try to, convince them that he's the right man to bring disruption and change to the Department of Defense. And I understand that you very much are a supporter of Pete Hegseth's nomination and that you're trying to rally the troops on his behalf. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the opportunity to say that. Pete Hegseth obviously is a very smart guy, Princeton, Harvard, great orator on Fox and Friends, but the reason myself and almost the entire actual veteran community is behind him is because he's an outsider. He's our generation. He's got combat experience. I mean, the last 3 or 4 secretaries of defense have been general officers that all go sit on boards in the military-industrial complex, current one included, and Pete will not end up doing that. He's worked in veteran organizations, and so, I've talked to a bunch of different veterans, whether it's Scott Mann, the guy that the Pineapple, Operation Pineapple, whether it's Matthew Lohmeyer, Robert Greening, Black Rifle Coffee, Eddie Gallagher, the list goes on and on. I've been calling people the last 3 or 4 days, and so everyone that I've spoken to is completely supporting Pete Hegseth. This cancel culture that's trying to get rid of him doesn't understand that rot that's occurring in the military. Pete, just writing that book, Waging War on Warriors, clearly outlines the problems, the ways to fix it. And so we are going to come together next Wednesday. We're advocating, articulating, not protesting. We want to very just clearly let U.S. senators know how much the veteran community wants Pete Hegseth to be the Secretary of Defense.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I think it's definitely making a difference in terms of this surge of support for Pete Hegseth to be the next Secretary of Defense. I do want to ask you, because we saw this House Foreign Affairs Committee yesterday where you saw these congressmen basically drilling Secretary of State Antony Blinken on the Afghanistan withdrawal. It was very telling, his response. I want to get your reaction to some of the conversation that was happening there, some of the exchanges that were happening there between the congressmen, and the lack of answers that we're still getting from this administration. Tell me when you were listening to the hearing, what were your initial thoughts?
Secretary of State Blinken is maybe one of the worst foreign diplomacy advocates the United States has had in a long time. And when I'm talking about real-life veterans, Corey Mills, the guy that was really grilling him, he's a friend of mine, and he's the real deal. When the United States foreign diplomacy fell apart, Corey Mills went over there by himself, a group of 5 or 6 trusted individuals, and was getting people out. I mean, those are Americans just doing what they can to make a difference. And then Corey went on and got a Congress seat. Early in this thing, another congressman that I really trust, and there's not a lot of them, to be quite honest with you, but Brian Mast is another one. He's a guy that lost a couple of his legs in our global wars on terrorism, and he has grilled Blinken a couple times. But we can continue to give tough talk. That's good. In the Afghanistan withdrawal, every congressman and senator apolitically grilled not only Blinken, but Austin, Milley, McKenzie, and that's all fine, but nothing has actually changed. The Defense Department, the State Department, all our foreign diplomacy blunders keep continuing. We're continuing to funnel money to these organizations that are that need systemic change, and that's why we need someone that's an outsider. Pete Hegseth, again, I think he's going to make a big difference. The Defense Department has $1 billion annual budget. The State Department is minuscule compared to it. And so, I think the Defense Department, if you can get that right, we can start to guide the State Department as well.
Well, Colonel Scheller, I think you make some really good points, and I'm looking forward to also just kind of the de-woking of the military, which is, one of those priorities that Pete Hegseth has certainly put forward. We have to leave it there, unfortunately, but we would love, thank you for coming on. Hopefully you can come back and share with us, how your Capitol Hill meetings or how your rallying of the troops for Pete Hegseth goes next week. Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller, thank you so much. Folks can follow him on Twitter or X at Stuart Scheller. Right now it is 7:53, O'Connor and Company.